says on the top left that we're live. I'm going to record here to the cloud, so we'll get all the chat sessions from the 4 people, maybe more. Okay, so both are going. All right.
Yep, we're live on YouTube.
So Amanda, you should be able to see that. Let me get on my phone.
You might just need to refresh the page.
And I know my, for whatever reason, my house, I have a lot of feedback, so I'm going to mute when I don't talk.
Good idea. Yeah, you can unmute as well, so that's good.
Amanda, are you going to say hello to start, just to welcome, or do you want us to just jump right in?
If you'd like me to, I'm happy to, you know, just say
you guys
hello and
ready?
welcome.
You guys ready to admit the 4?
Mhm.
Okay.
The 4.
So far, but there'll be more. Sure, I'm sure there will be. Here they come. Looks like everyone's in now. Still connecting to audio, but that's okay. Okay.
I'm going to disable the waiting room.
Okay. Well, you need the waiting room on because you don't want unnecessary guests. So Amanda, they can always bring them in.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not like yesterday.
Welcome, everybody. We're just waiting for hopefully a few more guests to join us. We don't have a huge audience right now, so we're hoping to get a few more.
They're coming.
And if you know anybody who should or wants to be here, certainly send them a text, reach out.
I feel like we should have music playing in the background when you're put on hold.
Sure. There's a friend of mine that used to do videos, and they would do like a presentation, so they'd have a slideshow going with music. It was great.
I also just got a message that we have a few people on the live stream on YouTube, so that's good.
Yep.
And technically, it's not even 6 o'clock yet, so I think
You know, one more minute.
a little bit more time. Got some more people jumping on the live stream. Thanks again, everyone, for joining us. We're going to give it a few more minutes to let some people get on. The Zoom thing can be a little complicated.
Sure.
All right, everyone. Well, I think we should probably go ahead and get started. The good news is we're recording, so this will be available for anybody who isn't able to make it, or you can go back and rewind and catch things over again, which is one of the silver linings of this remote stuff. So I just want to say hi. I'm Amanda Charcot. I am the Interim Director of Student Services, and it is my sincere pleasure to present these ladies to you tonight. They have worked tirelessly since August until this very minute, both on taking care of schedules and preparing your students for college, despite the fact that our school year started 2 weeks late and the college deadlines did not move by 2 weeks to accommodate that. So I'm just, they have been so impressive and worked so incredibly hard, and they have a really great presentation for you tonight. So I'm going to turn it over to them. If you have questions, we're going to give you some time at the end to ask those, and we'll ask that you use the raise hand feature, which you can find if you're on Zoom by using the participants button. You'll click on that and you'll be able to see a place where you can raise your hand, and then we can call on you. We do have a hard stop time tonight at 7 o'clock because there's a PHSO meeting happening right after this, and we certainly encourage you all to hop in on that. If you're joining us on the YouTube live stream, I'm not quite as familiar with that as I am with Zoom these days, but if you pop questions into the chat, I will make sure that they make their way to the ladies. Any that we can't answer tonight, we will be sure to take note of and put together and put out to everybody so that you can get some answers to your question. And of course, always these ladies are available to you via email or a phone call, and they'll get back to you as soon as they can. So thank you so much. I'm going to turn it over to them, and have a great night, everybody.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Megan Donahue. I'm one of the counselors, and I have the first third of the alphabet for seniors this year. We're split, so I have A through CA, and then I have, honestly, I cannot remember, that I have D through, I can't even remember, I apologize. I have a little chart that I always refer to. But beginning next year, I know exactly, because we're not split between two different, we're just following up from when we moved to a dedicated freshman counselor. I'm passing over to you, Ms. Marino, to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Kathy Marino. I'm another school counselor. Welcome to our meeting. And hopefully tonight we can help answer some questions that you might have. And if, like Amanda said, if there's more, then we'll try to answer them at the end or get back to you with the answers.
Ms. Bellotti is on an extended leave, and we have a long-term sub that is supporting her students, and that is Danielle Scott. Danielle's going to be supported in all areas. For the college piece, however, Miss and I are going to be meeting with Miss Bellatti's seniors. Miss Bellotti has been writing letters of recommendations all throughout the summer and will be continuing to do so. So don't fear, your counselor that you've had for the last 3 years is still going to be writing those recommendations. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Parents, we are usually present more, excuse me, of a presentation dedicated to the parents, and it's usually more at a global level because we learned after the fact that the Zoom we set up on Monday tapped out at 100. Not all of our seniors were able to join it. So we are doing the student presentation, which is good for you. You'll be able to see exactly the information that we've been given to them. We will have a financial aid night, touch more on the financial aid piece at a later date. Look for announcements about that in an upcoming email. So the goals for today's meeting is that we're going to do an overview of the college application process. So we will break it out by what we're expecting the students to be doing. We gave them homework when we met with them in the spring. Hopefully they were able to get that homework done, do some research on colleges as teacher letters of recommendations, so we can really hit the ground running on how to actually apply to colleges. If not, it's not too late. We can still get that first piece done as well. And then we actually then will follow up and do small group meetings with seniors for the actual nuts and bolts, where we actually get into Common App and we actually talk much more about SAT and how to submit your scores. So, so if you have any questions at all, again, this is going to be recorded and we are, as always, available through email or phone. This will be an opportunity to ask questions using the chat function. We can also have time at the end. And then we also, new this year, have created a class of 2021 Google Classroom. We have asked all of our students to join this. Right now we have about 102 seniors that have joined it. We have 231 seniors, so we'd like to see 231 seniors on that. There's an opportunity for parents to request having access to the class of 2021 classroom. There's a form that was sent out a week ago and we can send it out again tomorrow. And all you have to do is put your name, your email address, and your student's name, and we will give you access to the same classroom. Anything and everything that has to do with anything post-secondary, which means after high school, whether it's college, graduation information, other types of programs outside of traditional four-year college pathways will be on the Google Classroom. Scholarships, college visits. So please, we do invite you to request access to that. And then we've asked all our students, and if you could help us out with this, there is a very simple form to fill out. It's called the Intent to Apply Earlier Google form. Again, while we started 2 weeks late, the colleges and universities did not change their deadlines. And so it is very important for us to know if your seniors, you, or if your students are planning on applying to either October 15th, November 1, November 15, or December 1. We will be meeting with students in order of earliest first deadline. And we have, because we're meeting us with Ms. Bellatti's, we have 231 seniors to get through between the two of us. So that intent to apply earlier will help us to determine which students we need to see first. The biggest deadline is the November 1 deadline for decision for majority. A lot of our students, just for point of context, last year probably had 60 out of my 75 students have at least one November 1 deadline.
All the students have received the red folder, and hopefully, if you haven't seen it and you ask your student to show you the red folder, they can do that. In that folder is a lot of information that will be good for you as parents, as far as planning and paying for college, and a senior to-do list that you could maybe check along with your student to see where they're at, if they're meeting all the benchmarks. Also, the Common App and other applications, any application they fill out, they're going to ask for certain information. So in there, we've given things such as the deciles. A common question we get is, do we rank? And we do not rank. So when you indicate, when the college application asks, what is your ranking? They usually give you NA, not applies. And then they'll ask to choose which one you do use. Deciles will be in the drop down. And then we've given you the information based on your child's GPA, what decile they fall in. And so you would report, they would report the decile. Some other really important information in the red folder. One is the transcript consent, non-consent form. And we had asked the students to try to get that to us by tomorrow, understanding that some of our kids are distance learning the whole time. They can, if you can, you could drop it off at the main office. We can find ways to get it from you and other information to you if your student is distance learning. Kids who are hybrid and coming into the building a couple of days a week, there's a table right outside the guidance office that we've labeled looking for some of these papers that we need back. One of them being the transcript consent, non-consent form. And basically, when you sign that, as their parent, you're giving us permission to release their information to colleges. We cannot release information if we don't have that signed. Another piece in there that you as parents could definitely check in with your kids about is the Common App essay prompts. We had given that to them when they left in June. Well, they didn't really leave in June. You know what I mean. School ended in June, but they did have access to that. And it lists the prompts that they can choose to write about. Always good for them to let you read it. What you're looking for is just that you can hear their voice, you can hear something about them as a person, as a student, something that the college will discover about them through that essay. They also have been encouraged to share that with their English teachers, who then again will review it and look more for the grammar, make sure everything's where it should be as far as punctuation and such. The other forms in there are recommendation forms. The teacher rec form is a green form in the red folder. And most kids, I think, have done this. But if you want to check in with your student about this, they should be asking two teachers to write them a recommendation. And the way, since we're not in the building, that we have let them just email the teacher and ask them, would they write the rec? If they say yes, then they are to fill out the teacher recommendation form and get that to the teacher. That's extremely important, especially if they have an early deadline. Because when you have an early deadline, the colleges are expecting that all these materials are there by the deadline, including our recommendation, teacher recommendations, and the student's application.
So the first part that we hope most of our seniors did was started back in the spring when we met with them to talk about what they should be planning on doing, the college research process. So if they've not done that, it's not too late. We want to get started as soon as possible. We them to start to look at the colleges that they may be interested in. They're going to look at the profiles first of the colleges. What do they require? What is their average GPAs for test scores? And then they're going to have they have their transcripts. They're going to know what their GPA is. They're going to look to see how they measure up to that college. Naviance has wonderful research tools for colleges. They have Naviance Supermatch. And as you put in your list of what is important to you in a college, you're developing a live list, and it will provide the information of whether it is a good fit, that college, with your profile. You'll be looking at the careers and programs of study. So if you know that you want to major in engineering and you're applying to a school that you may love, if it doesn't offer engineering, that's your number one goal, is to be an engineer, that may not be the best place. So make sure you're looking at the programs they have, so you know that you're not going to be transferring after your Gen Eds in about a year or two, because they don't offer the programs that you're interested in. School visits, I know when we talked about in the spring, most colleges, all colleges at that time, because we were all quarantined, we're doing all kinds of virtual programs, from having live chats with current students, to, if you want to know about the food in their dining halls, to their programs of studies, to the tours that they have had online. I'm starting to see more and more, some schools are beginning to open up and begin tours again on campus. Most activity, I'd still say, is virtual. As we get information, we are posting them in the class of 2021 Google Classroom, so that you can look to see if your schools that you were interested in have any upcoming programs. We also have school visits, meaning schools that come to PHS. In the past, we're a school that colleges and universities love our students, because they're prepared to be successful in a four-year college or university. And we had about 150 to 160 presentations last year. This year, we'll be providing those through virtual presentations. They will sign up, students will sign up through Naviance. You'll be able to see in the Google Classroom or Naviance what schools have arranged for these virtual presentations. And then more details on how you'll be able to access them will be through in the next week or so. How do you apply? Are you going to apply early decision, early action, regular decision, or rolling admission? For those of you that are brand new to the college application process, it can sometimes seem a little bit overwhelming. Early decision is when there's an earlier deadline to have your application, all the materials required for it submitted, and the colleges make a decision earlier, generally before the start of the new year in January. Early decision is binding. Many schools, they require you to withdraw any other open applications you may have at other colleges and universities. There is a likelihood that you probably will not see any financial aid package at that time. So when you are applying under early decision, you are telling that college that if you are admitted through early decision, you are going to that school no matter what. We call that it's binding. Early action is similar to early decision, where you have earlier deadline, you will be notified earlier so that you'll know that I'm going to a four-year college, yay. But it is non-binding. You don't have to make a final commitment till absolute last day is May 1. So you can wait until you receive decisions back from other colleges, and you can receive financial aid packages. So a lot of our students will apply under early action to those schools that offer it. For early decision, those schools that use it tend to accept more of their students for that freshman class under early decision. So a higher percentage of students that apply that way are more likely to be admitted that way. The next is regular decision. So maybe those first deadlines for regular decision aren't until January, sometimes even February, but you will not receive a decision back from that school until March through mid-April. So that's a later decision. You would have until May 1 to make your final decision. Then rolling admission, when you look on the website or when you're in Common App and you pop in a school that's rolling admission, it'll show a deadline not until sometimes until June of that year or April of that year. That can be deceptive though, because rolling admission means that they read and make decisions on their applicants as they receive them. So if you're interested in nursing or business or some of these more popular programs, I would recommend that you treat rolling admissions as if it's an early action, because I would hate for you to apply to school that you really are interested in, but find out that the seat is filled when you would be very much been a good fit for that school.
Okay. So when you begin to think about submitting your applications, we ask that students submit at least to 3 schools. If you're thinking about a more competitive or selective college, we're suggesting that you apply to from 6 to 8 colleges. Again, when you're making your decisions, you're looking at profiles, you're making sure they have the major, you're looking at their acceptance rate. You're really taking time to dive into their admissions page and get as much information there. And if possible, if they are doing some kind of virtual meeting, come to that, learn more about them. A little note about that too, many times, the person who is speaking at those college meetings is the admissions person for our area. So they are reading the applications from Rhode Island. And usually they do take some kind of notes and who was there. And again, it shows the student interest in the school. Let's see, something else to think about as, we encourage the kids to involve you as parents in the discussions about, where they want to go as far as how far is it from home? If it's, someplace that you need to take a plane to get there, what does that mean to your family? There are families who sometimes say that's fine, but the first time you'll come home will be, it's not as easy to come home for a long weekend. You think about the size of the college, you think about the programs of study, and then also the cost of the college. And again, family decision, sharing and talking about what works for you as a family.
All right, so the students have their list of schools, your confidential information. They've set up their Common App account, and they've invited their recommenders. These are all the things that they're going to be doing now. A lot of what we just talked about is what we'd hoped they'd done in step 1 in doing the research part of this whole college process. For test dates, due to COVID, which impacted the whole world, you had across this country and worldwide, the graduating class of 2021, and nobody could take an SAT or an ACT exam for 6 months. Then as they started to open it up, they couldn't meet the needs. College Board and ACT were not able to meet the needs. So more and more colleges have made applications this year, requirements for application, test optional. So what does that mean for most schools? It means that it will not be considered a negative if scores are not submitted. So with that said, we are providing an in-school SAT on October 14th. That is offered free of charge. Students do not sign up for it on the College Board website. That will be done through the school, and I believe SAT test booklets went home yesterday and today. And Ms. Kerwin Claire will provide more information on that. Again, I would just remind everybody, the recommenders, we'd like to ask that all teachers be asked by October 2nd to allow them time to write any recommendations. Hopefully, and as I've talked to students already, many have already talked to their teachers back in the spring. If you have and your teacher agreed in the spring and you provided either the electronic form for the recommenders last spring, or you plan on giving them a hard copy with the green form in the fall, you only need to do one or the other. What you want to do is just shoot them a reminder. Hey, Ms. Marino, thank you for agreeing to write a recommendation for me. These are the colleges I'm planning on submitting applications to. My first deadline is November 1. Number 1 gives the teacher an idea of the colleges you are applying to, and then also a little nudge in case they need to write your recommendation or if they want to add anything more to it. Hopefully, students have been thinking about the essays if they've not actually written them. The English teachers have started assigning that already as an assignment. And again, it's one more set of eyes. The essay for Common App is 650 word limit, and it will be, it's easy to hit that, especially when you're able to find a prompt that really speaks to you. Again, it's your voice. You don't have to climb Mount Everest or solve the cure for cancer. They just want to hear what makes you. Your voice is important for them as they make their decision. Look at your program of study. They look at your GPA, possibly a test score. They just want to hear what makes you, you.
So we did put up the additional testing that right now is on College Board and the ACT website. The dates, they have a date of the test and then they have a register by. If you miss the register by, usually they're very kind and will let you do a late registration, but they'll also charge you more money. So again, you just have to be checking the website. It changes a lot due to the COVID situation. The test that we give on October 14th, just so you realize, if you have a student who is distant learning, they will have to come into the building that day for the test. I've gotten a couple of questions about that from my students, and we understand that if they're not comfortable with that, or that's not good for you as a family, then they do not have to come. It's not mandatory, but we are offering it. And do know that the rooms will be set up in accordance with the safety and the CDC recommendations. So it will be the safest environment that we can provide for them.
And I guess one thing that I want to share before we talk about recommenders and essays is with regards to the SAT is because most schools are going test optional with it. The question is, well, should I submit my score? Should I not submit my score? If you look at the profile and your score is going to put you in a very positive light, I would definitely recommend submitting it. For admissions, it's not going to be considered this year. However, for merit money for some colleges and universities, it will be considered. So check with those colleges on your list, reach out to check their website first, then reach out to their admission office or their financial aid office, and if they are requiring an SAT or an ACT score for consideration for merit money. All right, so, and I know we've touched on the recommenders. We want English or social studies teacher and one math or science teacher. We only need 2 recommendations. A lot of colleges only require one. They may or may not allow others, but for teacher recommendations, but we don't want to, we have to be mindful of our teachers as well, and we don't want to inundate them and have, 5 teachers writing recommendations for one student. If you are majoring in art and you think that Miss Olson would better support your goals of getting into an art college, you may want to ask her and then drop either of your other academics. Same for engineering. Mr. Andrews may have had you for engineering for 3 years, so he absolutely would write a strong one. Then you want to ask that second one to be one of your other academic teachers. Again, please be courteous of your teachers' time. Please come up to them on October 31st and write a recommendation when there's a November 1 deadline. Teachers, counselors all want to do our best to help support you in reaching your post-secondary goals. But it's hard to do that when we're not giving the time. Here, I always get one on October 31st, no matter how much we beg for them earlier.
My students never do that.
We've already talked about the essay, the 650 words, the student's voice. When you're in Common App, and we talk about Common App, it's because 95% of the applications submitted from our students are through Common App applications. There are schools that do not use Common App. They may use their own, or they may use the coalition. But if they do, they will provide links for students to put in their counselors and their teachers' email addresses, and we will upload those recommendations. But for the schools, when you're in Common App, when you're in the school, particular school, look to see if there are other essays you may need to write so that you're not surprised when you're ready to hit that submit button. And you might have to write an additional 1 or 2 essays based on the schools. These are schools that are generally more competitive, what we would call more selective. And they just may want a little more of your voice before they make their final decision.
Okay, so a lot of this we've gone over, but we'll just take a quick look at it. The Common App schools, again, parents, please make sure you're asking your child for that transcript consent form in order for us to release information for your child. The Common App essay prompts, red folder, and also what Megan just mentioned, that at times you'll see they're asking for additional information. Sometimes they are in the form of essays. Sometimes it may just be some additional questions that the student needs to answer. For our non-Common App schools, most of them are online. I don't think there's many who are still asking us to, fill out a piece of paper and send it through the mail. But if your child comes upon something like that, they should definitely reach out up to us and Mrs. Bai in our guidance office. She's a great resource too for the kids. Basically, when they're filling out the non-Common App school, they'll just follow the prompts, and usually they'll come to one that will ask them to name their recommenders, their counselors, and then we will receive information to us asking us to upload the information.
So one of the documents that we talked about that's in the red folder, that where we probably get the most questions, is what is the high school code, or what is the CEEB code? You'll hear asked both different ways, depending on whether you're in Common App or in other applications. This is our code 400128. It's used for SAT, ACT, college applications. this is something that you'll just want to have access to this document at all times. Mrs. Marino already talked about, we do not rank individually, we rank by deciles. There is a decile sheet included in this folder as well. And there's going to be a question about how many seniors are in this graduating class. There are 231 seniors. So this information will be one of the first questions when you're in the school section of Common App, and if you need it for any of the other applications as well. Outside of Common App, the California public school system, Texas public school system, Florida, Georgia, and North Carolina, they all have their own applications, although I believe some of the states are starting, some of the schools within the states are starting to use Common App, but they also tend to have earlier regular decision deadlines. If you are planning on applying to the University of Washington, they have a very early regular decision deadline. I believe it's in October. So while most of our students apply to those Common App schools, which are generally most in New England, if you're looking outside of the region, then make sure that you check and look at what those deadlines are.
Okay. Two forms that you as parents will definitely be very involved in filling out is the FAFSA form, which goes live online as of October 1st. So it's something that you can begin to at least look at, get a sense of it. What it's doing is you're providing your 2019 tax return. As they'll ask you that information, that would be the information you would provide. And once you answer questions, many questions, they will put a formula together to determine how much your family can pay to go to college. Also, it will provide you with information such as loans that your child may, your family may be able to get. Sometimes there are some grants given out. The difference between a loan and a grant is the grant does not have to be paid. Just be conscious of what there are some differing interest rates on them. There's something called the Pell Grant, which is out there. It's all based on your income as a family. The FAFSA completion, I'm going to ask Meg to help me a little on this. This is new this year, but it's on October 22nd. And Meg, we did send something out to parents about this.
So I'm going to tomorrow morning. We
Okay.
have collaborated with the College Planning Center. They're a wonderful resource and will support you in any part of the college process.
Mm-hmm.
But they will assist you with the FAFSA application. They are the experts on it. We cannot claim to be experts on it. The application changes every year. They're going to be on top of all of that. They have set aside October 22nd, 9 in the morning until 4:30 in the afternoon, half-hour time slots, so that they can assist families in completing their FAFSA. The sign-up will go out and be available. You then can call Mrs. Vi office and then request a time that works for you. If we have enough demand, the College Planning Center is happy to provide us with a second date, and we would send an announcement out on that. The one requirement that the College Planning Center has in preparation for that October 22nd 30-minute meeting is that you and your student would have already created your FSA ID. So for the FAFSA application, the free application for federal student aid, for those that are new, both the parent and the student need to have separate FSA IDs that I've been in the last 2 years. So if you may have had an older child go through the process, it may not have been required in the past. The FAFSA, it goes live to submit October 1. And we recommend that families submit those applications really on the earlier side. Different deadlines for the FAFSA application for colleges and for states. And so that you don't have to worry about all those moving parts. If you just get it done early, then you won't miss out on money, either state money or federal money.
And some colleges do request the CSS profile. And again, when you go onto their admissions page, there are links to financial aid. They will tell you if they're looking for both of these. Everyone is going to be looking for the FAFSA, but there are certain most of those colleges are the private schools that they are asking for additional information about your income, and they put that into their decisions about what kind of package they'll offer you.
So this is just more information on scheduling the Zoom appointment, the phone number posted here. We will, again, there's a recording of this, and we will also post the PowerPoint slides on Google Classroom as well. We did want to talk briefly, the College Planning Center started, or RISLA started a scholarship last year. It's really to encourage students to go to RISLA to learn more about scholarships that are available. And it's called the Knowledge for College Scholarship. You have to create an account, sign into it once a month, and your name goes into a monthly drawing. And we thought it was 2 students. It was 2 students last year. It's now 3 students a month will be drawn to get a $2,000 scholarship. So you don't have to write an essay. You don't have to fill out a huge application. You just have to create an account that takes a few minutes and just sign in once a month, and your name's in for a drawing just for Rhode Island seniors only. Scholarships, we are going to talk a little bit about it now, but really and truly the focus for now is getting those applications into colleges. There's a website called Going Merry. Going Merry is like Common App, except for scholarships. You create your account. It'll take a little bit longer to do it, but it's done once. Then you search for scholarships. Within those scholarships, they may want a little more information. Some may want an essay, but overall, it's a large clearinghouse for scholarships. The next one is FastWeb. FastWeb takes you 2 minutes to create this, and it is a database for all kinds of scholarships. One that's out there is write a 500-word essay on your favorite Crayola crayon color. So they could be in your areas of interest based on financial need or just very random. They have thousands of scholarships out there. For local scholarships, those applications will start coming into the guidance office. We will post them both on the Google Classroom and in Naviance. And there's a little bit of trickling in now. A big one that our students, that's popular with students, is Dunkin' Donuts and the Red Sox scholarship. They have earlier deadlines in, I believe, February 1. But the others really don't start trickling in until after our midterms, and then all the way up and through early April. We encourage our students, these scholarships are for our peers. Every year we have scholarships that students do not submit applications, and then counselors are asked to identify students who would be a good fit for those scholarships. So stop by the office or refer to the Google Classroom or Naviance to look for more information on those. The other resources are also the Rhode Island Scholarship.com website and collegeboard.com or .org.
Good.
That may be it. I
I
thought
think so.
questions, counselor questions.
Yes.
But,
So, Ms.
ahead.
Donahue, we do have a question from the YouTube chat. A parent would like to know, for the FAFSA, do we need to have a second parent account for our current senior if we already have a parent account for an older sibling who has a separate student account?
Yeah, that's a good question. I will, FAFSA, and maybe we can create an FAQ from tonight and include, well, actually, we'll just add it to the FAQ document that we started on Monday.
Okay.
We also have a question about the accessing the Google Classroom for parents and making sure that that Google form is sent back out. We also just got a question about this presentation being sent out. And yes, we will send the recording of this presentation, and Ms. Donahue will make sure that a link to that spreadsheet, the Google form,
Mhm.
Classroom for information will be included in that communication.
Yes. Mhm. The email that went out last week, there was a link for the parent request, but I will resend it again tomorrow.
Ms. Donahue, is the, and Ms. Marino, is the FAFSA deadline October 22nd for all colleges?
That's
No,
not a
that-
deadline.
That is not a deadline. That is the day when they can meet for a 30-minute appointment. They can sign up for a 30-minute appointment with the College Planning Center for assistance in completing the FAFSA application.
Would look on there'd be deadlines on, again, the admissions page, but now, when I was doing this with my kids, it was a few years back, but for Rhode Island, it was March 1st, because there was also some money at that time that the state would give also. So make sure that you're checking. You can actually just look up the state of Rhode Island and find out when their deadline is too for that FAFSA. That's fine.
So the transcript consent form, student will not be in school until Tuesday.
That's fine.
Into Ms. Vi, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a little table right outside guidance. They can just put it right in there, but we give that date knowing they're going to need a few more days, and that's fine.
And we do that even if we were not under our hybrid. We always give a short turnaround. Usually students receive that the first day of advisory. And we ask that it be returned within that week because we know we're going to be collecting them for the next month. But as much as possible, we want them turned in. One thing that we did not touch upon is the parents' role. This is usually in our parent presentation. The parents' role in all this. Mom and dad, we want you to be a support for your student. We want you to be there to help collaborate with them, to have that conversation about geography, to have that conversation about, realistically what's affordable. We don't want you writing their essays. We don't want you completing their applications for them. This is something that's going to, help them if they're, this is what you're not going to go to college with them. So this is a responsibility that they need to take on. So again, let them do it. You can ask them questions and support them. Maybe have that family conversation of how many hours a week are you going to work on college applications? What days do you plan on doing it? So that you're not asking them every single day, did you work on your application today? Did you complete your comment app today? Did you ask your teacher? That can be stressful to the student, especially if they have 4 tests coming up in the next 2 days. But maybe if there's some established goals and rules moving forward, that will just make it a lot easier for everyone in the family. I'm not going to lie, the first semester of a senior, there's a lot of moving parts and it can be stressful. As counselors, we are there to support your student through this process. And, but at the same time, they're still going to be involved in their activities, possibly sports for those that are going in the fall. They still have to keep their grades up as much as possible, because if they're applying early action or early decision, we will be sending out transcripts with those first quarter grades. But at the same time, we don't want students to feel overwhelmed going through this process as well.
All right, we have just under 10 minutes left before the PHSO meeting kicks off. If anybody has any other questions, please feel free to drop them into the chat, either on YouTube or on Zoom. In the meanwhile, I want to give a huge shout out to Jake Karen and Steve Costa, who are our IT folks behind the scenes, who are making all of the magic happen. They have been so incredibly helpful, and they've been facilitating these kinds of meetings for months on end at this point. Thank you to them for their help.
Anytime.
All right, I suppose if we don't have any more questions, then we can, unless there's any final thoughts, we will be in touch about financial aid night. We will be in touch with the information to access the Google Classroom. And we'll also be sending out all of the recordings and information from tonight's presentation. So last chance for questions. Otherwise, I'll also say, again, an incredible thank you to Ms. Donahue and Ms. Marino, who have been doing, frankly, the job of 3 people between 2 at this time. And tonight is another great example of all the hard work that they've been doing. So thank you to them as well.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us
Thank
tonight. We're here to help.
Have a good night, everybody.
Night.
Good
Good night,
night.
everyone.